Okay, so sometimes in life, when you find that your group of people or your kind of people, right, gets disliked by everyone, like everybody got problem with you, then maybe it is time for you to reflect on why that is the case, rather than just pointing fingers at others. You cannot discriminate me, right? You guys are wrong for, being discriminatory against me. Yes, I'm not saying discrimination is correct. It's not the right thing to do, definitely. For no reason, right? You discriminate people based on the color of their skin. It's definitely not right. Right? But I'm not talking about that here. Right? I'm not talking about that here. I'm talking about, it's not a problem of racism. It's a problem of civility. Right? It's a problem of not mingling well with your new country of adoption. Right? It's about you not respecting, maybe, right? Just maybe, right? The new customs, traditions, cultures of your new place, right? And sometimes it is not even just a local problem, it's a global problem. Like everywhere you go in the world, people have this thing to say about you. Then maybe instead of people are wrong to talk about me, maybe, just maybe, I'm just a suggestion. Maybe it's time for you to reflect and for you to accept that that is an inherent problem with your kind of people or your group of people. Okay? And it can be, for example, based on political party. For example, if you belong to a certain political party and you find that people really hate, people who are from your political party, then maybe it's time for you to reflect on your political party, right, where you come from, and see why that is the case, right? Or maybe it can be in terms of ethnic group or religious group, right? Somehow people just don't like your type of people. Then maybe, instead of saying people discriminate you all the time, maybe it's time to do some self-reflection on why that is the case. All right? And I'm not saying that this is always right to discriminate people. No, it is of course not right? But if enough people, and we're not talking about discrimination here, outright discrimination based on the color of their skin, just based on where they are from, is definitely wrong. I am 100% against it. But I'm talking about perception that people have on a certain group of people. This thing may not be racism or xenophobia, right? Let's not brush every prejudice or bad impression, just label everything as like racism or no. Sometimes it's not, right? As I said already, sometimes it's how well you accustomed to this new place of adoption, right? And it may not be your fault, right? I'm not saying it is the fault of the individual, right? It may be, you need some time to adapt. You need some time to change, and it may not be you. Maybe you yourself are doing okay, but your other friends from the same, group are not doing as well, and then maybe you can help them, right? So, and I say this as a Chinese who is fully aware that there are certain stereotypes, prejudices, impressions. I would use the word impressions because I don't like those words that really put a label on people, right? Maybe people have a certain impression of Chinese, right? Of the Chinese race, of the Chinese ethnic group. And as a Chinese myself, I'm fully accepting of it, because why should I not? It's like, even I myself find these impressions to be very correct impressions, which I also feel of my own people, of my own kind of people, and some of which I feel are a problem, for example. And I feel that instead of saying you cannot discriminate me for that, I turn around and say, then maybe it's time for, maybe not just me, but us, right? Us as a whole race, as a whole ethnic group, to reflect on it, right? And of course, I'm aware that when you talk about Chinese, there's probably a difference between the Singaporean Chinese, Malaysian Chinese, Hong Kong Chinese, for etc. etc. Right? And so the same goes with, like, for example, Indians, right? Singapore Indians, Malaysian Indians, Indian Indians, you have different kinds, right? So whenever we say we have a certain impression of a certain group of people, right? Like, sometimes it's really not racism and xenophobia, right? Sometimes it's really if everyone has this impression of you, like, what should you be your response, right? Instead of always, people discriminate me lah, you know, like seriously lah. This is the behavior of an entitled crybaby. That is a behavior, I repeat, of an entitled crybaby, right? We should never in life adopt such an attitude, right? So instead of, people always don't like me, you know, then it's like, why? Why isn't everyone don't like you, right? Is it just a simple case of discrimination? You know, it's very easy to use this word, okay? It's very easy to use this word. It's harder, of course, to reflect on yourself, right? And perhaps, you know, take a more reflective stance. Because actually, for all you know, the one accusing others of being racist may himself be racist, right? Because by expecting everyone to respect him or her no matter what he or she does, or no matter what he or she gives people the impression that they are like, and then, you got to accept me whatever way I am, right? And then, like, accusing people of being racist. Actually, if you think about it, right, it's the other way around. These people themselves are being racist because they, and you notice it is these same people who always feel entitled and always want people to give in to them, right? Like, and when it comes to their own kind of people, they are always right, right? Like, when it's other people, it's always wrong. you notice this trend. I don't want to say who, but you notice this trend, okay? So, and why am I on this topic? Because I want to talk about Seka, right? I want to talk about how well they integrate in our society. And again, there is nothing racist. I'm not suggesting, you know, us to take a very racist, xenophobic, they are bad people, they are inherently bad. You know, let's judge them by the color of the skin. Let's judge them by the way they speak English. None of this, right? As a fellow human being, I am perfectly fine with judging them as equals, right? As equals, just like every other human being on earth, right? But it becomes a problem socially, right? And societally when we do not take care of our Singaporeans first, and we allow, right, the influx of these so-called foreign talents from a very different cultural background, right, who probably have different customs than us, and it's not like that's a problem by itself, but it's just that, you know, you need some time to assimilate, you need some time to integrate into society, and I'm all for integration. I'm all for this. That's why I support Pritam Singh's suggestion that, you know, all new immigrants should learn some English, basic English, not like Queen's O-level, A-level English, no, just basic conversational, right, enough to converse with the average Singaporean. And some people even say that, actually this policy will hurt the Chinese more than the Indians, because the Indians are known to be really quite good in English. It is the Chinese that, you know, either refuse or they are not really that good in English. So, but I still support it, right? I'm not going to take a race-based approach and, you know, hurts my Chinese friends from China, therefore I should, you know, oppose it. No, it's as a Singaporean, I'm going to be very fair, right? Regardless of race, language or religion. Okay, so but the problem comes when you have too many of a certain ethnicity or nationality, what have you, right? Whatever it is, right? The three main problems we have: the Malaysians, mainly the Malaysian Chinese who are here to work, the PRCs have always been a problem, but most recently the most acute problem comes from the Seka Indians, and I'm going to call them Seka Indians because they came in through this policy backdoor, right? And because the policy simply allows them to come in by the loads lah, all right? So and that is why I support I supported Lim Tian for quite some time, because he was the one who was willing to bite on this issue no matter what, right? He was willing to go all out on this issue and to bite the PAP non-stop on this issue, and that is the only reason why I like him, right? I don't like him for any other thing other than his insistence on abolishing Sikha altogether, and I think that is the only right stance to take, right? And in fact, so much so that his good friend Leong Man Wai also adopts also brings the issue into Parliament and hit PAP on this very issue in our most prestigious house of government, right? So, and I think they need to be given some credit, they need to be given some applause, and that is the only reason actually why I joined PSP. It is this one issue alone that I thought, and especially when PSP gets, accused, when Leong Man Wai so bravely stood up, I wouldn't say for Singaporeans, because it's really not just, it's not a nationalistic thing, right? It is not even a nationalistic thing. At this point, it is really a human thing already. It is not like we are, I'm like so pro-nationalism. Not at all, right? I am all for this opening up the doors, welcoming talents from everywhere. I'm all for that, right? But when you have such a floodgate situation, right, all from this particular ethnicity or nationality, right, and it is a very unfair advantage that they have over the Singaporeans. This isn't nationalism anymore. This is about our welfare. This is about, our lives are at stake. So, and for Leong Man Wai to dare to be the, I would say, only parliamentarian in our parliament at that time, who really bite on this issue non-stop. That was and because of that, get demonized and accused of being racist, xenophobic. No, I couldn't take it, right? I couldn't take it to the point that I joined the PSP because of this one issue alone.